What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Formula America podcast. We're your hosts, Kurt and Dylan, and we're coming at you with an extra podcast today because we've had a little bit of news in the driver market in the past couple of days. We've got 2 more seats that have now been shored up for the 2025 season. I'm doing air quotes for all of those who can't see this because one of them I feel is still kind of loose. But we've got Carlos Sainz, who's confirmed he is going to Williams on a multi-year deal. And we've also got Sergio Perez, who is probably likely staying at Red Bull, at least for now. So we're going to jump
Wednesday.
Yeah, right. I feel like it's on a rolling basis, but we'll get into all that. But first, let's talk about this Carlos Sainz deal, man. I think it's shocking, not shocking, sad, not, I don't know.
Kind of sad, I think is the best word. When he came out with the video saying he was going to Williams, it definitely was not an elated, like, yeah. It's like, I've made my decision, guys, and it'll be good.
Yeah.
Please, it'll be good, right? Someone say it'll be good.
I've chose the least bad of the bad options, basically, which sucks, man, because Carlos, like, basically in the height of his career, he's at Ferrari right now, one of the top teams. It's just wrong place, wrong time for Carlos, man. Is Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion. What are you going to do when he comes? You got to get rid of somebody.
Yeah.
So
I was surprised. I'd forgot all the different teams that Carlos has been with. That guy has made the rounds through Formula One. Someone posted this morning on Instagram. You know, he started at Red Bull. He was there for 2 seasons. Went to Renault for a season. Went to McLaren for 2 seasons. Been at Ferrari for 3 seasons, and now he's moving to Williams. And it's like, man, you're making the rounds, bro. Like,
most of the grid at this point.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of that was his choice or the constructor's choice all throughout the years. That's, you gotta, I'm sure at some point you're like, God, dog, I just want to have a seat to stay in for a little bit.
Just give me a stable home. He's looking at somebody like Lewis who's been somewhere for, you know, double digits
years.
at this point. He's like, man, what's that like?
Yeah. No, and of course, James Vowles came out and talked about how excited he is to have Carlos, and I bet Williams is. I mean, Carlos has got some crazy talent. Him paired up with Albon, I think, will be, you know, probably a very mutually beneficial pairing of drivers. Like, I think Williams is definitely the team coming out on top here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Williams in this instance is kind of like the guy in high school that's dating way out of his league. And that's how I feel like Williams is for this one. But I mean, you look at the options that he had, right? He had Williams, he had Audi / Sauber, and he had Alpine, which came in, you know, late after the Ocon news. And I mean, honestly, I probably would have went with Williams too.
Yeah.
Looking at those other 2 options, the other 2 options are on fire right now. Like they are like sinking currently.
Yes.
The upper management is in complete turmoil. Bruno Famin just got fired, is leaving now from Alpine.
Quotes.
And it's just, Audi, who knows what's going on there? There's a huge shakeup there. They got rid of Seidel. They're bringing in, what's his name, Bonato now. And, you know, it's just a lot of turmoil going on. And then you got James Vowles, who's sitting there talking like Morgan Freeman, you know, just telling you everything will be okay. He's like, you know what? I'd go with James Vowles too.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, Haas is out of the question. Alpine, he's already been at Renault, and it doesn't really surprise me he's not going back. Yeah, like you said with Sauber, like I think that Audi most likely, if they continue with their race pedigree that they have in almost every other racing conference, will be a top contender one day. Problem is, it's probably 6 years down the road. Like,
yeah,
especially starting with the stake car that they have right now. Like, they've got a long way to go. And so it's like, yeah, it's kind of a shiny object, but it's going to be way shinier in 5-6 years. Like,
yeah. And I mean, from all accounts, it seems like Carlos has, you know, like they're calling it a multi-year deal. It's probably either a 1+1 or a 2-year deal. And then, you know, get you to the 2026 regulations, maybe a year of that and see how everything falls then. And, you know, he could probably move on to a better team at that point. Or by then, Williams might be doing pretty good.
I would hope so. I think all of us would love to see a return to form for Williams back to their world championship days. I would be totally cool with Williams being up at the front. I did see, and this is total rumor mill speculation, I saw it one time, but it was from a fairly reputable source, that there are clauses in the contract for a Red Bull seat. If Red Bull does approach Carlos, he could get out of that contract, like pre-25 season. So like I said, total speculation and rumor, but it is kind of interesting. And it wouldn't surprise me as long as Carlos is held out. I think he was really hoping for that Red Bull seat. It wouldn't surprise me if he was like, guys, okay, I'll announce it. I'll get off the market. I'll come to Williams. But if Red Bull offers me that seat, I'm out. And it's kind of hard for anybody to be like, no. Like, I get that. Like,
I know they would never do it, but I would love it if the contracts themselves were like public information.
Yeah.
We actually got to see what it looks like and what these performance clauses are, or different clauses in there. I would love to see what that actually looks like.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be interesting if that's actually in his contract, where if somebody like that approached him, he could leave. I mean, and you're Williams, right? You're going to give up a lot. Like, Carlos kind of has the bargaining power, you know, for the most part. I mean, you also look at like, okay, you're going to go to Audi, you're going to go to Alpine. So, I mean, they do have a little bit of bargaining power on their own, but yeah, Carlos, I think, holds the cards in that conversation. So yeah, I'm sure whatever he wanted, and I'd also like to see how much they're paying him too.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it's Max and Lewis levels, but I'm willing to bet it's got quite a few zeros.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think it was James Val. Somebody was coming out saying that they now have the strongest driver pairing in 2025.
James Val said that.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I mean, you've got Lando and Oscar, as long as they don't wind up falling out, which is a strong pairing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You got Lewis and Leclerc, but Leclerc is mentally damaged at this point. And so Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon, that's a pretty stable pairing, I think.
Yeah, I think that would be the better way to put it. It's a very stable pairing. I don't know that I'd say it's the best, the most talented pairing, but it's probably the most stable.
I saw another one. Somebody pointed out the fact that it's the first time in history that you've had a Formula One driver pairing with 0 appendices.
Yeah, I did see that. I mean, as I think about it, the Ocon-Behrman pairing is probably very stable.
Oh, for sure. On Behrman's side, you've got a complete madman on the other side of the garage.
I don't know what Komatsu is thinking on that one, man. That one still kind of flabbergasts me.
Yeah, that's the one that baffles me the most. I would have taken pretty much anybody. over Ocon. Bottas stuck with K-Mag.
I would have stuck with K-Mag.
Yeah, that's I don't know. But so Carlos is shored up over there at Williams. And then we've also got news that yesterday Red Bull had their meeting, and apparently going into the meeting, we all know that Helmut Marko's made no secret about it. He wanted Checo out of that seat. Christian Horner made some comments that made you think he was leaning that way, and apparently comes out of the meeting that they're going to keep Checo. He's going to remain a Red Bull racing driver. How do you feel about that?
I'm finding it hard to believe. Finding it really, really hard to believe. I mean, over the past 8 races or something, Checo's got 23 points or something dumb. They said that, so you have to. Taking it at face value, they said it. We've also got a testing in Imola tomorrow, Wednesday, July 31st, for Liam Lawson and Danny Rick in the Red Bull. I just find it really hard to believe.
So do I. And so even seeing it, and I was kind of hesitant to even talk about it because I don't believe it. I kind of wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to hold out until I see him suited up in the car in Zandvoort.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it, and I was like, let me take all of my predispositions about Checo and all that out of the way, and let's do some actual fact-finding research. And it kind of makes sense if you think about it. And so the things I'm looking at 2 different things, right? And the first factor I'm looking at is who would it be the replacement, right? Danny was slotted to be the replacement if he had been performing well, but he's been hit or miss. He's had a couple good races now.
He's got half the points that Sonoda does.
Exactly. So you pull Checo out, cause all this disruption, and then who's to say that Danny gets in and really does any better? As much as I am a huge Danny fan, I would love to see that happen. Logically, I don't know. And then you got Yuki on the other side. We all know how Red Bull feels about Yuki. They're not going to put him in that seat.
No, they're not.
The other option would be Liam, Liam's largely untested. He had a couple races last year. Apparently he had a test that didn't go that well this year in Silverstone. And so would you put a rookie in that Red Bull seat next to Max? So, I mean, when you're looking at it like that, kind of keeping the status quo makes sense. But the other one, this is the big one that I'm looking at, is the financial implications of it.
I think that's a huge part of this.
Yeah, for sure. I was looking at, so last year, these are all estimates, but I was looking at the constructors payout. The estimated payout for P1 in the constructors last year was 140 million.
Yep.
For P2, it went down to 131, and P3 went down to 122. And so Red Bull, keeping Checo in that car, they have a high likelihood of losing P1 and maybe even potentially drop down to P3. Maybe if things go really bad. No,
I think P1 is what they're going to lose out on, but I totally agree with you. And we kind of talked about this before, and when we were talking about it, it kind of clicks. The rumor mill that's pretty solid, I believe, is that Checo brings about 20 million to Red Bull. So even if they drop to P2 in the constructors, you lose 9 million there. You kick Checo out, you lose 20 million. Even if you drop to P3, you lose 18 million. If Checo is bringing in 20, like.
Right. And on top of that, you're going to lose a majority of the Hispanic American fans and the Mexican fans. And like, we've all seen what that looks like. It is a huge market for Red Bull over here. So I think financially, if I'm putting everything else aside, it does kind of make sense to keep him. But saying that, I don't think that means that he's safe by any means. I do not foresee him staying there for 2025 if this continues. Like, and just because it would be so disruptive to pull him out mid-season. And so it's kind of more of a clean break to let him slide off in the off season. So,
well, I want to point something else out. Christian Horner specifically said, he's had a bad run, but he had a bad run here and these tracks last year as well. And we have a lot of tracks coming up that he did really well at and he will excel at. And so we want to, and so I pulled that up. So in 2023, next race is Zandvoort. Checo got 4th place. The race after that is Italy. He got 2nd place. The race after that is Azerbaijan, which Checo won. The race after that is Singapore, which Checo, I believe, did pretty good in. Let's see, Singapore. He got 8th place in that one. So
the Red Bulls both did poorly at that race, though.
Then he's got Coda, which Checo did 4th place there, but that was with 2 DQs, so he technically did 5th place. Like, definitely a higher run of form in the races that are coming up. So maybe that is actually playing a big part in it. They're like, hey, you won Azerbaijan. Hey, you've gotten on the podium on these ones coming up. So, and just kind of also agreeing with you, like putting a rookie in, that's kind of a bold move. Putting Danny in, hadn't really had the form. And I'm sure that's going to cause a huge shakeup with Yuki going WTF, mate. Like, so I'm still struggling, man. Like, I get the dollar values and saying that, hey, we could drop to P3 and still come out ahead dollar wise. But what about other sponsors that want to be on the P1 car, not the P3 car? Like,
I don't know. I think that decision came strictly down to damage limitation at this point.
Yeah.
And they just figured, it's better to just stick with him, try to support him as much as possible, try to limp him through the rest of the season and then get rid of him then. But the other thing that I kept going back to is like, all of and of course it's all speculation. We see people talking in the paddock all the time, but we saw that picture of Danny up on the roof talking with Horner and Laurent Mekies. And I was thinking, well, take away the Red Bull seat. Maybe they're just talking about, you're good for next year or something like that. Or like, hey, finish out this year. We're probably not going to be sticking with Checo next year. You got a better chance of getting in the Red Bull for 2025. I don't know, but
you got to turn your form around because you're not. Yeah, he's got what 11 points right now total. Yuki, I believe, has 22. I'm pulling it up as we speak. Danny's got 12 points. Yuki has 22.
Danny probably would have had more points if it wasn't for Lance Stroll. Okay.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong. A lot of drivers would have more points if it wasn't for Lance Stroll. I would like to point out that Oliver Bierman still has more points than Pierre Gasly, Kevin Magnussen, Esteban Ocon, Alexander Albon, Zhou Guanyu, Logan Sargent, and Valtteri Bottas.
he's going to finish like just under halfway in the driver's
He's in 14th place right now.
Yeah. And he's done one race.
He's got half the points that Danny does.
I'm excited to see him next year.
I am too. I mean, I don't think he's going to do anything at all in that Haas with, Ocon dive bombing him out of every race, but I'm excited. Kind of like Piastri, where it's like, let's see, just don't pull a Logan Sargent.
Yeah. It would be cool to get some more rookies in again, this year without getting any new rookies, but still this year has been the most exciting season, even more exciting than 2021, I think.
Ooh,
because 2021
easy killer. I don't think so.
2021 was just Max and Lewis, right? We've had 7 different race winners. Yeah, it was awesome. It was definitely awesome. But we've had 7 different race winners. We've got all 4 teams, the top 4 teams have all had a 1-2 finish this year. They've all had both drivers other than Checo win a race.
You're not wrong. I just pulled up 2021 race results. Lewis, Max, Lewis, Max, Perez, Max, Lewis, Esteban, Max, Danny Rick, Lewis, Valtteri, Max, Lewis, Max.
It was, don't get me wrong, 2021 was a banger. It was so exciting just to see those 2. They could have left every other car off the track and just been those 2 every race.
Yeah, our predictions would have probably been a whole lot better that year than this year.
yeah,
right? Well, so we wanted to talk about Carlos and Checo getting the new seats. I do think we need to probably do the fact that with one of those guys getting a seat, Logan Sargent will not be in Formula One next year unless someone picks him up. But
moment of silence.
Rip.
I do not foresee, and I don't think he foresees it either. No. I think everybody is kind of betting on him going to IndyCar, which I think would be cool. Maybe he'll actually really excel there in IndyCar. Just his timing in Formula One was just bad. It was just bad timing.
His form in Formula One just wasn't all that great. I mean, he finally stopped wrecking the car so much, but he's still just nowhere. I mean,
well, that's just because he started driving as slowly as possible.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not a poor guy. I was super excited to have an American, let alone an American named Logan Sargent from Florida in Formula One. Like, that was kind of cool, but it's just kind of, I don't want to say embarrassing. It's just not good.
I will say, though, he can take solace in the fact that he made it for 2 seasons in Formula One. One of the only 20 drivers at a time get to do this, and he got to do it for 2 seasons. So he might be kind of disheartened or dismayed at the way it ended and the way, his performance went, but he was there. He had a seat at the table. So I wish I could drive Formula One for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I'd be the butt of the joke.
I'd 1000% agree with you on that. So kudos to him for making it into Formula One for the 2 seasons, but it's kind of, I think, time to go.
For sure. Yep. All right. Well, we've got, like I said, there's 2 of the final seats. There's 4 seats left, I believe.
We got Mercedes open. We got Sauber
Alpine. And V-Carb.
And V-Carb. Yep.
Is still undecided. So we've got 4 seats. And also everybody's waiting on Adrian Newey to make a decision as well. Lots of rumors going back and forth. If there's one thing that this Checo signing can tell you, it's don't listen to the rumors, because the rumors are all over the place. And so who knows what Adrian Newey is going to do, but that's the one I'm really waiting for. So, hey, we'll be back in another couple days with some more information, whatever else comes out. And then we got some more stuff lined up for the rest of the break. Some actually exciting stuff. We got some guests coming on. And other than that, if you like this podcast, make sure to leave us a rating and a review and share this podcast with a friend. Check out our Patreon too, patreon.com/Formula America. But I think that might be it, Dylan. You got anything else?
That's all I got.
All right. Well, on that note,
stay classy, America.
We'll see you next time.